no
And
innovation right now.
there's no innovation. There's no reason.
Not on a mass scale. I mean, you can throw in sort of these boutique companies like
Mm,
Hercules and also like Newmark.
yeah,
Um, but other than that, yeah, man, it's
it's nothing.
and music
It's
brands
so dry.
and
And see,
Pioneer.
this the other reason why nothing's going on, because Pioneer is like, "Oh, just hold off. Let's wait a couple months." And then
Right.
music is like, "Well, we're gonna wait a couple months, and there's nothing now.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do, nothing to come out." They're not even trying to like, leak stuff. Like Denon leaked that thing last month or 2 months ago,
They're trying to get
and then
all Apple
nothing,
like.
nothing. They're
They're
not
trying to
talking
get all
about
Apple
it.
like. Yep.
Yeah, there's no more information about it. I think that they probably went back to the drawing board, to be honest, and they were like, I don't know if this thing's gonna work,
Yeah.
and they pulled it because from my understanding it is a another piece of gear that you connect to a SC6000.
That's it.
That is stupid.
That's it.
That's beyond dumb.
It's just
The
like
SD6000 has layers on it. Why would I ever need another piece of gear to do the same thing?
you
It's
don't even need two of those. All you need is one to
no, you can
DJ.
do everything on one of those. Why
Right.
why would I get so why would I buy 4 of them for it? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
With these companies, Pioneer really, they came out with the Nexus 3000, which again, not quite sure why that was released in the middle of a pandemic. But now you see these companies starting to put out different DJ mixers, and it's just like, how often do you want us to change our DJ mixer? I mean, these mixers aren't cheap. They're like $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, and it's
A lot of
like,
them start at $2,000.
I think last year, 3 or 4 different DJ mixers came out, maybe even 6. It's just like, but why? Where do I now? What do I do? Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where the market really is now, because now that Pioneer dropped the Nexus 3000, Pioneer's not dropping any other sort of
they're not dropping
CDJ.
anything. Yeah, that's
So
it.
now we got to look towards Denon to drop a CDJ, something else. I don't know. Maybe it's a 7,000, 6,500. I don't know. Maybe a bigger DJ Prime. Because those 6-inch jog wheels, I think that's just small. I think if you want to be in a professional sort of like level, you got to have 7-inch jogs or above. Yeah.
Yeah. They just don't feel good. They're too tiny.
They're too small, man, to be on such a system that's so powerful. 6-inch jogs. It's just like, really, you guys. And then Rain 1 came out with the vinyl feel, and they're what, like 10-inch jogs or 9-inch jogs?
I think they're 9.5 or something. I can't remember.
They're
very big. They're massive.
Yeah.
And that's the right size, and people love that thing. I don't know if they bought it though, but they do love it.
$1,500. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like, okay, you come out with this sort of stuff. It's just like, now you want people to start buying new gear just because it's new gear. It's almost like, if you're like an Apple fanboy, you buy Apple products probably yearly because you're an Apple fanboy,
Yeah.
But with these DJ companies, I don't think you can suggest that DJs are going to just continually on a yearly basis buy new gear just because you came out with something new. The Rain 1 looks really dope, $1,500. I think the sweet spot would have been $999. They would have killed it.
That's what I said, man. Under 1,000, sub 1,000.
Yeah, they would have killed it.
The thing is, though, it's the motorized thing. So maybe they come out with one without the motor and they can sell it for sub, but
that may not be exciting, because then you're competing with the Pioneer 1000 sort of controller or whatever they just came out with recently, I should say. The motorized is killer, though.
That price is ridiculous.
They're probably not selling a lot of those because of the price point.
No, I don't think they are. When I was talking to DJs, they were excited about it before they found out the price. And the price was like, I don't know.
Yeah. $14.99.
Maybe they have a sale later on when they get the production up and could drop it down to 12 something, maybe. But
they dropped the $14.99 controller.
$14.99
in the middle of a pandemic.
No DJs working right now. There's not a single DJ working. That is a tough sell.
In the middle of a pandemic.
That is a tough sell.
Like,
That's why
and
I definitely think everybody's put their stuff on hold for
oh
sure.
yeah.
They're
I
just
mean,
like,
Pioneer just dropped a video on like this DJ like did a little routine with the Nexus 3000. It's like, who cares? The 2000 is still rocking. It's in a lot of clubs. A lot of
yeah,
clubs may not update that. A lot of
killer
DJs who
factor.
have the 2000, they're not going to update to the 3000.
Yeah. And I think that's why they said, well, we're not going to let this work with Rekordbox so we can kind of bully them into upgrading. I don't think
Yeah,
that's going to work.
that's not going
It,
to work.
it, if this wasn't a pandemic where DJs weren't sitting on the couch,
Yeah,
maybe, but a lot of people don't have disposable income to just upgrade their whole tech. Like they
yeah,
don't have that. So
that's crazy. 3000, and what that's like $2,500 or something like that.
yeah, for one. So
Yeah, that's
you're spending okay, well, because they didn't upgrade it, which is shocking too. They didn't upgrade the mixer. The mixer's still the same, the older
well,
mixer,
so
which
we know
isn't
what's coming
compatible with.
next.
Yeah, but the mixer's not compatible with the new record box.
We wait a
Think about
minute. The
that.
3000 it's not compatible with the 900
No, no,
Nexus,
no. It's compatible. They're compatible with each other, right?
right?
But the mixer, the Nexus mixer, doesn't unlock record box on its own.
Oh
So
yeah,
only the
that's right.
CDJs or they call it still CDJs. They're
Mhm.
the 3000s. They unlock record box, but your mixer doesn't. So you kind of have to connect everything together under
Yeah,
that guys, which is like I would like the mixer to be the main focal point, not the controllers. I want the mixer to be the one that's connected to my laptop, not the controllers, but they have it backwards. You have to connect your laptop to your controllers and then to the mixer.
the flagship controller, Pioneer's flagship controller, doesn't unlock.
Yeah.
It's like
I
this is your flagship.
I've gotten arguments with people over this, and they're like, "Well, I was like, "It's not new
No,
not new technology.
they're
You
silly.
guys, it. I made the argument. I understood when Rain came out with the SL1 and then the SL3, and they were like, "Well, this is a USB 2.0 hub, and this thing is faster bandwidth, and that's why it wouldn't work. And the sound card's different." I was like, "Okay, cool," but everything in there can still work if you just pay for it. So you just decided to screw all of the people who spent the thousands of dollars to support you on a professional level. You said screw those guys. Those guys should have been grandfathered in.
Yeah.
And and
Mhm.
like they have cheap mixers that and this is I had a debate with somebody and they're like, well, whatever, but they couldn't make the argument for why the cheap mixers, the 250 and the 400 supports the record box, the new record box 6,
Right.
but my S9 doesn't. How does
They
this work?
they should have had it would have been a lot easier. They said, you know what, all of our flagship
Yeah, all the
devices,
Nexus stuff by
right?
default supports it.
And obviously, the 2 or 3 flagship controllers, put that, grandfather that in. Everything else below that, you got to work it
Yeah,
out.
I would accept that.
Yeah.
Because we're professional DJs anyway, we would
Right.
buy this gear.
Yeah.
So I would accept that. Or I also said that if you just gave us here's a $50 upgrade package, you
Right.
pay for that, and then your grandfathered in.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you know what? All right, cool. But they're like, screw you, and your $6,000 worth of
Yeah.
gear, you got to pay too. Like, I was like, this doesn't make
They,
any sense to me.
these companies know that, and we spoke about this previously. These companies know that eventually you can't make but so much hardware. I mean, the money's
Yeah,
going to come in the software and the recurring revenue sort of like concept. They call it a Rundle, recurring revenue. And
yeah.
so they know that's where the money is. I mean, you take like
Oh, yeah.
Apple. They have Apple One and everything else, and you have all these streaming services, and you have like video streaming. They
Yeah.
don't care about the product they're making and put on these streaming services.
No,
It
it's
is
you
the
being in the service.
monthly, right? You paying that monthly nut every month. That is where
Mhm.
they're making money. And Pioneer figured that out, which is why they went
I'm telling
subscription.
you,
You said that's
Serato is going with
Serato's gonna go.
subscription. It is a matter of time.
I
I
mean,
can't wait for that video. I'm gonna enjoy making that video, but
oh my
it's a matter
goodness.
of time. Serato's going subscription.
Oh well, Algorithms DJ is already subscription on a mobile and
Yeah,
everything
everybody's
else.
doing it because they realize the money is not how many. Like I look at it like this: how much money could you make from selling Serato one time versus you paying for a whole year?
Yeah, that's true.
How much money is good? That $100 for it's like $99 for Serato
Hmm.
versus $120 that you're gonna make from you doing the $99 a
Hmm.
month, and then I'm gonna pay for it
Yeah.
for however long I'm a DJ. That's a no brainer. Like,
That's kind
especially
of
if
why. That's kind of why they Serato went into the whole music production things too, because they were like, okay, we're gonna need some sort of a
yeah, they're trying to get
recurring
more revenue.
revenue. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're trying to get more revenue. And I think there's going to be some hardware for the Serato Studio soon, like dedicated buttons that's designed to use Serato Studio because it's still a mouse and keyboard thing,
Yeah.
and that you're leaving money on the table, not making something for that. Like this is obvious.
Well, they're
If
gonna
you
need a
have,
company to build that for them, though, right?
yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
But I think they would just obviously go to Rain, whatever. They just need buttons and some OS for it to run because you're connecting it to it. So if you MIDI map some kind of controller thing, there you go. You just need a couple pads on there. Call
That's
it a
it.
day. That's it.
You can get something
You,
like
yeah, like
the
the Native Instruments machine,
or I was
like
gonna say
that
the
kind of thing.
Presonus Atom or something like that, or the
Yeah,
Atom SQ.
yeah.
Just
Or
like pads. That's it. Yeah.
yeah, a sound. You can go extra. Have a sound card and a headphone jack, and maybe like a line in to record some stuff and some pads and a
Yeah.
knob.
Mhm.
Boom, brand new controller, brand new revenue stream.
You know, that kind of brings us into this conversation we're going to have today because, Serato is a software company. Even though they had some hardware, remember when they first, when they were first doing the whole DJ software thing, you needed
Yeah,
some sort of an interface between your
mhm.
turntables and everything else. So that was a
Yeah.
piece of hardware.
You need the SL box.
Right, exactly. I never used
Yeah.
that because I wasn't that hardcore into using the software. And I was like, again, if I'm gonna use turntables, I'm gonna use just my regular vinyl.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I have 3 of them back here on the wall.
it was just like, hey, you want to use this software, you have to
Mhm.
buy this device. So it kind of made
Yeah.
sense, right?
Mhm.
Um, but that you go from your whole physical thing, they went from that, and then they said, hey, you know what? Their R&D department started making the software better, and it's just like, well,
Mhm.
hey, now you could just plug in any sort of DJ controllers. Companies got smarter with how they sort of figured out how to like get DJ controllers to work with DJ
Yeah.
software without having that sort of piece in the middle. And it's the same thing with sort of these. How how DJs consume music,
Mhm.
how that's whole industry sort of like went from, okay, the beginning was we bought vinyl, right?
Mhm.
And, I started out as a hip hop DJ, so I bought two of everything.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, if I wanted, something from, I don't know, at the time, from LL Cool J, I bought two. If I
Mhm.
wanted a Mob Deep joint, I bought two. You wanted an album, you may buy two albums, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that was the whole thing. That was how the industry made money, right?
Yeah. Because you wanted the instrumental or the acapella, and so if you
Yeah,
want to use the record, you need both of them.
right. And
Yeah.
then, man, how did that industry collapse? Was it Napster that completely collapsed that, or was it CDs?
No, it's Napster. His DJs did never really embrace the CD thing, CDJ stuff. We never really embraced it. Everybody's
Mhm.
still using vinyl as long as they could until Serato came out. Like I think that the Napster thing and was it wasn't Tractor, it was Stanton, the Stanton DJ thing they had first. When that
Oh,
came
the
out,
the software. Were you talking about the
yeah.
software?
When that came out, people were
Mhm.
like, "Oh wait, maybe there's something to this MP3 thing.
Was
Maybe we
it
should kind of
Scratch
put this
Live or
route."
something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
It
That was
evolved
the thing
into
too.
Serato, right?
Yeah, they bought the Stanton thing, the
Okay.
IPs and stuff, and they
Hmm.
turned it into Tractor. But I think that when that came out, there's two things. One was I can't remember who did it. I think it was Newmark. They had a platter controller that you can plug a USB drive into, and had a full turntable platter on it. And I was like, "Oh, this is the future right now."
Wait a minute.
I think it's Newmark. I can't remember. It's either Stanton or Newmark. They had a huge full 12-inch platter on
Oh,
it. It was the size of a turntable.
that was Stanton. That was
It's
Stanton.
Stanton. Okay. Yeah, I knew it was
That
one of them.
that lasted a year.
Yeah.
Like
But I
that
was looking at
lasted.
it. I was like, when I saw the MP3 thing happen,
I
I
gotta pull that
instantly
up
started
now.
selling records. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be the end for the records here. Once I saw that controller, I was like, oh, it's over from here on out. This is a waste of money. I tried to get out and sell as much records as I could. And I'm kicking myself to this day because I should have kept a lot of stuff that's classic or rare things, and I sold it anyway. I had an eBay store. I was selling like a madman trying to get rid of this stuff because I was like, I gotta get out before the bottom falls out. But when I saw that controller thing, I was like, this is the future right now. A platter that's spinning around that feels like vinyl, and I can play MP3s on it. Why would you go back to your carrying crates of records? Why would anybody go back to that? I know quality was still terrible because it's like 128 bit rate.
It
It
wasn't
was
that
awful.
great, yeah.
It
Hmm.
sounded awful, but it's very small. I think it was like 500 megabytes or something like that. Like you could
But it
fit
was
on the
still 12
USB.
inches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the concepts were there, and my big background in computers and technology, I was like, it's a matter of time before I can fit that whole thing on. And then you had the iPod, and when they had they had the advertising of 1,000 songs in your pocket. I was like, it is a matter of time before this thing's over. And here we are where we're not even on the level of I gotta store this stuff in my computer now. We're already at the cloud level. And my phone's going crazy right now.
Technique came out with a sort of like motorized platter
Yeah.
that played
It had a,
CDs too, which was dope. It was like the
it's like a
SLDZ or
12,
something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
DC like 1210 or something. My
That
friend bought
was
them.
that was a
He
pretty
sold
dope
his
machine.
turntables for that.
Yeah. That was a pretty dope machine. And then, again, I think DJs were buying vinyl, CDs came out, and then, I guess Pioneer dropped the first CDJ. DJs was
Yeah.
still sort of like,
They were still on the
I
fence
don't know.
about it.
Yeah,
Especially
right.
I think dance DJs accepted it
Yeah,
sooner
it was
than
in Europe,
hip
it
hop
was
people.
sort of
Yeah.
like accepted in Europe,
Yeah.
because, these sort of festival DJs and these touring DJs, it was an
Mhm.
easier way for them
Oh, for
to
sure.
tour just with CDJs. Um,
Yeah, but was it the 800, I think, or
yeah, it
I
was
can't
the
remember.
700s or the 800s. The
Yeah,
first one they had, it
Mark
was,
the Mark ones.
yeah, the
Those
Mark
changed the
ones.
game. Those completely changed the game because they're like, wait a minute, this actually scratches and it sounds okay.
It was
Like
just a matter
once they
of
figured
time,
out the algorithm for that thing to make it the CD sound good when you scratch, they're like, okay, we're done here. We can move on.
When did I conform to putting my music on CDs and then carrying CDs around? Wow, I can't even
I
remember.
skipped the CDs thing completely. I never did it.
Oh, you
I
never did
waited.
CDs?
Yeah. No, I was still on turntables and vinyl until Serato, the first version of Serato came out.
Oh my
And
goodness,
that's
what?
when
You
I was
skipped the
like, I'm done.
CDs?
Yeah. I sold a lot of rare stuff, but I kept basic stuff to do gigs. But I wasn't really DJing that much then. So I wasn't doing a lot of events and parties and stuff like that. It was more like, hey, I need somebody to do a wedding, or hey, can you fill in? I need like an hour over here or some spot. Like, do or early stuff for a club
Right.
or whatever. I was doing that.
Oh
So
my
like I wasn't. I
goodness.
had like 1 foot out and 1 foot in still, but like I completely skipped the CDs. I held on to vinyl until Serato came out with the first version, the Serato
Okay.
Scratch Live. But that's when I was
Wow.
like, okay, we're out.
Okay. So I remember my first uh, CDJs or CD turntables I
Which one did you
bought.
buy?
The first ones,
Yeah.
dude, and this is why I like this specific company, right? The first CD turntables I bought were, wait for it, the Denon's 3900s.
Okay. Those are pretty good.
Because they were excellent. And I used to,
Mm-hmm.
I had them in different like cases, and I traveled with them. I did a lot of DJing with them, and I
Yeah.
had my CD like sort of like case, and
Mhm.
they were really solid. So I've known the Denon CD turntable technology since they started. The
Mhm.
technology, the tech has always been there for Denon. Denon has always knew what
Yeah,
was
yeah.
going on. Like Pioneer just got to the
They're early
industry first.
adapters
They were early,
for a lot
right?
of stuff. Yeah, yeah.
But Denon knew what was going on. They said, you know what? We're going to make this, but we're going to make it consumer friendly. And so that's
Mhm.
what they did. And so, yeah, those 3900s, oh man, they were like a tank. And I also had the mixer I used was a Behringer 628 or a 626.
Okay.
And it was like,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
I mean, listen, I rocked out, man, with that joint. I mean, again, I would do my little art gallery parties, my little
Mhm.
lounges, everything else. And that was the first. But how I was buying music was, and you
Mhm.
said you didn't even sort of come to the you just skipped the whole CD thing. So what I was doing
Yeah,
was
I was still buying 12 inches and stuff still.
I was
Yeah.
still buying 12 inches, but I was burning a lot of, ripping a lot, not ripping, but burning a lot of CDs just so I can
Mhm.
play out because I was like, hey, you know what? But I also had to bring my own equipment there. It wasn't
Yeah,
until
yeah.
I DJ'd at this spot in DC where they had CDJs, and then I was able to just bring my case of CDs, which was basically
Okay.
like, little like album sort of like book
Yeah, it's like
of
that
like
book.
CDs. Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I remember though, like I ripped um, two CDs of the same. So like having, two 12
Mhm.
inches that were the same. But in this case, I would have like 10 tracks per CD. And I would also make sure that they were WAV files, not MP. I wasn't really into MP3s yet. And
Yeah,
the digital download stores, they were basically selling WAV files,
yeah. Mhm.
Wow, so you skipped that whole thing. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
like
man.
oh my goodness. So you just kept rocking like the SL interface with your turntables.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Mhm.
I was basically still vinyl, and I was
Still doing
fighting it
vinyl. So
for a
you were
long time.
still like carrying crates of records?
Yeah, I was fighting it for a long time, but I was still. See, the thing is, though, I recognized this was the future. So while I was fighting it, I was still encoding all my records
Mhm.
and converting them into MP3s and trying to
Okay.
make them as high quality as possible.
Right,
And
right, right.
also, I was trying to go online and find anything that I had vinyl on. I tried to get the MP3 version of it during
Okay.
all this stuff was going down. So I was basically preparing for the future, but
Hmm.
still had my foot back in the past. So that was the issue there. Because there was no, for me, I wasn't satisfied with the gear that I had to play the stuff on.
Right,
I
right,
didn't
right.
like the CDJs,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, the MP3s is a better system than the Wave thing is, but it
Mhm.
just sounds like crap. So I was trying to get to the point where we get to it would be good enough. And so what I did was I have a wall, I still have it, of CDs that I encoded and recorded burned the
Yeah.
CD on there
Yeah.
of the MP3s,
Mhm.
and then I had like the artwork on the side. I I was real anal about this. So I had the number on it. I
Mhm.
had the number on the side, so it would be a number and then the name of what it was, and then have all the albums and stuff like that, whatever's on there on the back of it. And I had like an Excel sheet so I could figure out where things were. Because
Wow.
I was storing that for the future. I was thinking like this is gonna be the future. It's kind of
Mhm.
like they have that thing in, I think it's in Iceland or whatever, where they have all the seeds preparing for like some kind of disaster. That was my
Oh,
seed
right,
thing for the
right.
future. Yeah. I
Like
was
two
putting
of
all the seeds
everything.
for the future. Yeah.
Right. There was how I used to do it was I would again download, and again back then we were doing WAV files. Not a lot of MP3s yet because we weren't quite sure which bit rate to play on big club systems. So if you, all the like sort of touring DJs and the festival DJs, they were like WAV files, and they would put
Yeah, you had to give wave.
and they would put one song on a CD. So even if the CD was like 700 megabytes, they would put a WAV file, one, and it was just like, wow, okay. When I started doing MP3s, I would put 10 to 12 MP3s on a CD, write the date that I purchased them, and then the genre. So, like 53120 deep house, 53020, like, tropical house or something like that. And I sort of had them like that, and you really, you really couldn't even figure out there wasn't really any real software yet to sort of mix and key either. But we really just you and I coming up.
I just knew. This song doesn't go together.
Yeah, you listen to it, so it was like, oh, people are making like software for like mixing and key now. It's just like, oh, you just listen and you know what works with what record, right? When you actually started buying MP3s or digital music, what are some of the sort of platforms or the companies you would go to online to buy these MP3s that download and purchase and download the MP3s?
I think for me, iTunes was pretty much the end all be all.
Yeah.
And then I got into some DJ pools, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is a better way.
Yeah.
Because I was still trying to figure it out. And a lot of the DJ pools, like if you weren't a resident somewhere, it was difficult to get
They
into.
wouldn't let you get in, right? Exactly.
Yeah, they wouldn't let you get in. So it was an issue. So I was like, so screw that. Since I'm not a resident somewhere, I'll just get it from iTunes, and I'll just leave it like that for a while. And so that was my mentality for a long time, just trying to go to the store, figure out what I needed. And also I would buy actual CDs sometimes and then rip them into an MP3 form.
Right,
and
exactly.
then I would sell the CD after. I know it's double dipping, but I'll sell the CD to like a used music store or something.
Right.
Yeah. Because like I got the MP3, I don't need anymore. And I do it like that. But like that was my mentality for a long time. I was just trying to prepare for the future while still keeping tabs on what was going on.
Yeah.
And it got annoying, but I stayed on top of it for a long time until Serato came out, and I was like, okay, here we go. I don't need to do any of this anymore. The hard drives are big enough that you could put stuff on there. I had external hard drives too. Like you had a bunch of stuff that it made it more feasible. Now, I got like I think 300 gigs of music on my laptop right now. Like that was a dream before.
Right.
That was a dream. Like the hard drives on the laptop was like 400 megabytes, 500 megabytes.
Well, back in the day, they were like maybe even 128 or something like that.
Yeah. If you're lucky, if you spent money, you can get a drive that big, unless you got the external
or something
stuff
on it, right? Exactly. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
And those drives are expensive.
Yeah. See, that wasn't okay. So for me, it was a lot different because we played, a lot of the people who played, DJs who played house music, we couldn't just go to iTunes at that time. iTunes really didn't have a lot of, underground house music. So we had to go to different sources that specialized in dance music. So companies like Stompy, which was out of San Francisco, and then Digital Dance Music, which was out of, I think, Brooklyn or maybe the Bronx. They had the dopest Afro-Brazilian music, and at that time, I was sort of into this whole loungy Afro-Brazilian thing. So, man, they had everything. And then also Beatport and Track Source. Now, I was buying a lot of my stuff off of Beatport until a friend told me about Stompy. And Stompy just had like some of the craziest like broken beats, all the deep house, all the sort of house coming out of like San Francisco, which is a pretty big, house scene. But I was buying most of my stuff from Beatport. But Beatport started sort of realizing that, hey, a lot of DJs are buying music off of our platform. That was when Beatport started saying, hey, we are big. We are number one, right? And so I think, the other thing was sometimes when you bought music off of Beatport, it just wasn't good. It wasn't mastered
Mm-hmm.
properly. It wasn't mixed properly. And so that happened to me a few times. And that's sort of how my
Mm-hmm.
dislike of Beatport. If you want to know like how it started like
Yeah, yeah.
10, 12, almost, 15 years ago. And it was just
Well,
like,
you.
how can you be a company
Mm-hmm.
whose sole purpose is to sell music so that DJs can download? How can you let something like this slip through the cracks? And the reason why was because it was, I think, and this was the word on the street, that sometimes people would pay to be on their top 100, or labels would pay so that their artists can, sort of be in the
Yeah.
top 10 and things of that nature. And they just would let sort of really crappy music slip. So you would buy a track for $1.49 or $1.99, download
Mm-hmm.
it. The next thing you know, it's just like all muffled and you can't even play it. And there was really no way to
Yeah, yeah.
contact them and say, hey, you know what? Can I have my money back? So I was just like, I'm done with Beatport. What's up?
What's interesting about that is that each of these, back in the day, music, it depended on which place you went to get the music. It wasn't universal where,
Yeah.
Spotify has the same music that Tidal has, or Beatport has the same thing. Like,
No, it
it wasn't
wasn't.
universal.
Mm-mm.
It was like, if you want good house music for this time of genre or whatever, you had to go
Right.
to this place.
Yeah.
If you wanted good underground hip hop, you had to go to this place.
Yeah.
Like Supreme and these guys, you had to only go there. Or DJ City, you couldn't. You were wasting your money and your time because they didn't have access to those special remixes or the
Yeah.
intros,
Mm-hmm.
this kind of thing.
Exactly.
And that was a huge factor for how companies became big and how companies just died away because they didn't have the access. That
Listen,
is fascinating to me.
it is because, like I was saying, Beatport, they sort of they had it on lock, but then they
Yeah,
had
yeah.
these other small companies that really specialize in stuff you hard to find sort of tracks. And the other,
Mm.
and just really quickly, the really exciting thing was now I was spending $20 a week
Mm-hmm.
opposed to spending $150 a week for 10 tracks.
Yes. Oh my God, man. The
So,
price difference between
right.
the MP3s and the records was just such a huge difference.
So it just made a lot of sense. And so when my
Mm-hmm.
boy told me about Stompy and I went to Stompy, I was like, oh, Stompy is it. And then again, like I said, digital dance music. And that was it. So I was basically buying everything from there. I did not see
Mm-hmm.
it was probably years after sort of the whole digital download music
Yeah,
scene
yeah.
sort of blew up that Apple started carrying some of this stuff.
Like, they were it for a long time, but
They
like
did
for
not.
regular top 40 pop music
That
that's on
was
the
it.
charts,
Yeah.
it was easy to get.
Hmm.
And that was the music because I never really got into house until maybe like 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah. Hmm.
I never honestly cared about it. Like I like the house, like the Chicago house, like that classic stuff.
Hmm.
I like that because it was funky, like the soulful house. I like that, but like that was it for me. I never cared about the scene or anything like that. It was just,
Yeah,
I think
man.
that I think Daft Punk and a couple other groups, they kind of got me back into the house. I was like, oh wait, these guys are doing something interesting here. But like Daft Punk is for normies.
Mhm.
Like it's not like some obscure specialty thing for people who listen to the house music. That was like they're the pop top 40 thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to
Hmm.
disparage them, but like it's
But
kind
it's
of like
true
the
though.
Pitbull.
I mean, if
It's
you're
kind
a
of like the
house head,
Pitbull or the yeah,
right,
you're
exactly.
not gonna listen to them. You're
If
not gonna
you're a
be like,
house head, if you're a house junkie, Daft Punk is not the people you would
no.
listen to,
No, not at all. But like for
Not at
me,
all.
I was strictly doing hip hop and R&B.
Mhm.
And all these other genres, they didn't matter to me at all because I wasn't playing music for them, for that kind of audience. So like it was kind of relevant. But like I heard some stuff and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Maybe I should check out some other things. And then, you go down the rabbit hole, you start finding out all these other acts and stuff like that. But that was kind of my gateway into it, honestly. I think
Mhm.
like Around the World or one of those songs was kind of my gateway into it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, it's kind of cool. But like, you had to have that thing for, especially for people who are not into that type of music. You need that normie gateway drug type thing to get you to over the fence. Because I would say this: house music is kind of daunting to get into because it's a tight
Really?
knit group. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tight knit group, and I think the people who listen to it, they kind of look down and you're like, oh, you don't know anything about house music or whatever. Like it's the same thing
Yeah.
with like hip hop used
Mhm.
to be. And I for certain I say that for underground hip hop people are like, you don't know anything about hip hop music, like,
Yeah.
whatever. Like it's
Mhm.
this tight knit group, and it kind of made it difficult for new people to discover this stuff or be accepted into it. And that's how it was for me. I wasn't really looking for it. I kind of stumbled onto it, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is a
Yeah.
big thing here. This is great. Yeah, some
Yeah.
quality music.
And
And so now,
Toronto has a huge house like
yeah.
community, dude. I mean, it's a lot of dope house DJs from Toronto too, dude, for
Yeah, I have
real.
a friend that
Mhm.
his brother was a house DJ, and so like I would hang out with my friend. And he'd be like, "Yo, I'm gonna go check out my brother, and he's doing some stuff." And so I was like, all right." It was kind of like, well, whatever, no big deal. But I was like, "Oh, okay, this is good stuff here." But like, you have to. I think that with the genres of music, like you have to kind of be forced into it, or you need some kind of thing to get you the kick in the pants to go see it, because
Yeah.
people are stuck in their little corner. Like if you
Mhm.
like rock music, you're only gonna like rock music,
Yeah.
and whether there's like some country song that you might vibe with, you're never gonna know about it because you're in your little corner with your group. And I think that with the digital music now and Spotify and Tidal and everything the way it is now,
Mhm.
it's made that divide even wider. It's not got because you think about, like,
Well,
you can be on a radio station to accidentally hear something else and be like, "Oh, I like that."
mm,
But now you're in your corner. You're
well,
strictly in your corner right now.
that's if you go into the European like union countries,
Mhm.
um, dance music is played on the radio like hip hop and R&B. It's
Yeah,
just like
it's more dance centric over
yeah,
there for sure.
so and then if you go to places like New York and Chicago and Detroit, they always had radio stations that were
Mhm.
that had sort of shows that played, different genres of like house music, dance music. So that was pretty cool. But I started, like I said, man, I started out with hip hop. Then I started doing club music because obviously,
Mhm.
Zanzibar and Newark, New Jersey, and then obviously just going to places like the Sound Factory Bar in New York, the
Mhm.
Palladium, just all those sort of places, man. The energy is completely different. But I still like do my hip hop stuff. I still do my house stuff. I love my alternative music. I love my new
Yeah.
age music. I love it all, man. It's just music to me. I love all my music.
Yeah. I
Um,
appreciate it a lot more than I used to. I used to
yeah,
be just in my head in the sand, worried about my thing.
yeah.
Because like right now, I play more Spanish music and Indian music than I did like before, or
Oh,
even
really?
rap music. I think I play more Spanish and indie music than I do rap music, to be honest.
Wow.
Because I got in to start doing Indian weddings and all these other things, and like I those kind of people, they want their style of music, but just a little bit. Whatever is popular, just a little bit. Like you get Katy Perry, just a little bit, but you go back to whatever's going on over here. So it
Now,
kind of expanded my music for like the library of what I would play and what I listen to
right,
for sure.
exactly. Now, on the with Beatport, like I said, and then you had Stompy. All those companies closed down, and so
Hmm.
then Apple Music started slowly but surely getting sort of dance music artists, right? And that had a lot to do with some of the digital distributors that started popping up, CD Baby, places like that. So now you
Yes.
were able to get your music. It took a lot longer in the beginning to, for your music to appear on platforms like iTunes. If once you did your distribution through a digital distributor like CD Baby, it may take like 6 to 8 weeks
Hmm.
before you even saw it, right? But what I used to do at that point was go
Hmm.
to a website like a Beatport, see what I like from Beatport, Then I would go
buy
see
it for
if
store.
it was available on iTunes because it was 99 cents, right?
It was cheaper. It
Right.
was cheaper.
Yeah. So I was just like, hey, you know what? So I sort of did it that way. So I
Yeah.
avoided Beatport for like almost 10 years. I was just like, I'm not dealing with Beatport. Started messing with TrackSource. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Behind the Groove podcast. I am Basil Barrington.
I'm DJ Keo.
Thanks and see you next time. Peace.